Today is Friday, April 3rd, 2020, and this is Journal 4 of spring semester. This journal is about me talking about a challenging conversation I've had or anticipated having. I actually I'm going to talk about a difficult conversation that I've already had just so I can answer the questions fully. So the difficult conversation included me having a discussion with a student athlete about not being eligible to play and having to start concussion protocol. So the first question is, how did I approach the situation? Initially, I gave them the test, told them why I was giving them the test, and that it was, a precaution, it was, a protocol, something that we do with, if any of these symptoms are present. So I said that we'll just see the results and I'll compare it to her baseline and we'll go from there. That not just giving her the scat is, automatically a ticket to not be able to participate in sports for a limited amount of time. So after we got the scores, her baseline was, I believe, 5 points lower than her score from that day that we took the test. Her balance score was not close to her baseline, and she had 6 symptoms. I think it was 6 or 7 symptoms, and they weren't ranked very high. They were about at the I guess I would say 2 to 3 range, but on her baseline, all of them were zeros. So I just, told her this is what I thought with collaboration of my preceptor, and this was our next step, and these are the things that she needed to do so we could get to the next step. She was initially very frustrated and irritated that we couldn't immediately start the next day on protocol, and didn't really understand that everyone's brain is different, or everyone's head is different, and healing from a concussion, getting better, and progressing is different from person to person. And even talking to her the next day, still very frustrated because I wouldn't say it's normal, but I've seen a lot of athletes, their symptoms get worse within the day 2, day 3 range. So she was really frustrated with mostly just me, because I was the one telling her that, we still can't go on, try to limit electronic time and avoid the things that bother you. And in college, that's really hard because not every professor understands, and not everything can be moved, like deadline-wise or exam-wise. And she's very dedicated in school, so it was really frustrating for me to tell her that she needs to find other ways to complete assignments if she can't get them moved. And we had a couple suggestions for that, and it was more of her just not wanting to have the concussion or deal with the concussion. So we talked about it, and on that second day when she was really frustrated with me, I gave her some more, I guess, numbers on how long it takes a regular, like a non-athletic person to come back, or a student athlete, or a female, or a male, and just showed her that everyone's different, regardless of athlete, non-athlete, male, female. It's all personal. And that if she was doing everything on her end correctly, that she would start feeling better, and we would keep touching base every day. But it was a really hard conversation to have, just because it was at the end of the season, and because she had this concussion, that she was not eligible to play in the last couple games, or help the team make the tournament. And I think that's where most of her frustration came from. So I just tried to give her all of the right information. And she was a freshman. She's a freshman this year, so reassuring her that she still has more time and to play. And I know that this was her first year, but getting better is more important than playing, and getting completely better on the health aspect of these things is far more important than having another incident and it possibly become life-threatening. So the next question is, what did you learn about yourself from that experience? This was last semester, so I learned that I wasn't fully explaining everything, that I just assumed that she knew what to do, and that, athletes are educated about common injuries, and they're not. It's on an athlete person-to-person basis, and I had to spend a lot more time with her because I needed to help her understand. And during that time last semester, one of my goals was to verbalize things to patients in a way that they can understand better and not really in medical terminology. And that was kind of like a bookend to that goal, because through that week of helping and documenting her progress, I learned better ways, and I researched a little bit more because she wanted more information. I learned that what I know isn't always enough for someone to understand. I can't just assume that they understand, and I need to do a better job of ensuring their understanding of what's going on in our plan, and that it's going to be okay, and that there's multiple resources to get through this, and that athletics is in a big spider web with the dean of students and student life, res life. Like, there are so many things that we can do to help her to ease this process of suddenly ending soccer for her this year or for that season, and suddenly putting academics kind of at a standstill just because of her mental well-being as well as her physical well-being. It was just not up to par yet. She couldn't go to class. It was just too much. The last question is, did the experience differ from how you anticipated or feared it would be? Yes, it differed from how I anticipated, because I have had many conversations with athletes about concussions, not or testing, and their SCAT and BES are much higher than their baseline, and talking about what our next steps are. But those were all, after thinking about it, those were all athletes that have had concussions. So they've been through this before, and they understand what works for them. So it was different in the sense that she had never had a concussion before. She was not all that sure that she had a concussion. At first, she did not want to come to the athletic training room because she was scared that she had a concussion, and that's always an issue that we have, is people not wanting to report because they don't want to miss out in athletic participation. But it was more challenging just because I told her that she would not recover in time to participate with full activity, and it was just really kind of heartbreaking as a freshman, because I remember being a freshman and I never got a concussion or anything like that, but not making the tournament was just kind of like wow, that sucks. And then to think about, like, she doesn't even have the option to help make the tournament was really hard for me to tell her that. So it was definitely challenging just because she was upset, irritated with herself because it happened during a non-athletic event, and that she didn't want to report it at first, and someone told her it would be best to, and then she had to have a tough conversation with her coach. So I really, felt for her and was frustrated with myself because I couldn't make her mentally feel better about the situation, but sometimes it is what it is and you just push through it and get better. And I was just hoping that some of it was because she didn't feel good, and irritability is a possible symptom, but dealing with her and continuing with her through her progress back to normal, that's just her personality and her being herself. So it was definitely challenging for me to navigate through, but I'm glad I did it because, one, I learned more about myself. I learned more about, accomplishing one of my semester goals then, and just educating myself on the topic of helping people understand better, which is always an issue. Not everyone's on the same education level, as we know. So finding ways to verbalize injuries or illnesses to someone that's not on your level is always a great thing. So yeah, that is Journal 4.